we have intensified our presence at the table. Chief Oren Lyons of the Haudenosaunee said it best. If you're not at the table, you're on the menu, or you're serving the menu. We're at the table now. We're in the discussion. We're in the text. So make sure that you sit down with us. Because if we don't like it, what you're doing, then we will tell you. And we will tell you in no uncertain terms. The biggest reason why we're experiencing lots of damage is that climate change is due to colonization. And I think that is like the root cause of everything.
This is the Go Maluku podcast.
Okay, so we will continue the sharing of the priority areas for our engagement in this conference. So I would like to invite now our brother Ghazali to shed light on the loss and damage and the Article 6. Brother, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much, Lakpa. Tabela, Malona Kura Mahina. I'm greeting you in my indigenous language. I'm Ghazali Ohorella from Maluku. If you don't know where it is, I don't blame you. It's we have 1,000 islands right above Australia, between Australia and Philippines, 2 million indigenous peoples, and I'm one of them. I've been bestowed the role to lead a team of the International Indigenous Peoples Forum on Climate Change on both Article 6 as well as loss and damage. So no biggie. But it's an important role because it's also an important process. To highlight, let me kick off with Article 6 and to highlight the priorities that we have right now. It is very important to also flag the progress that we've made in Glasgow. In Glasgow, our priorities were to operationalize the human rights and the rights of Indigenous peoples, ensuring that the rights of Indigenous peoples are in the text, not just as a preamble of text, but also in the operational. Another priority was to ensure that when it comes to activity design, particularly under 6.4, that it is in line with international arrangements such as the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. The Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, particularly we refer to the right to free, prior, and informed consent. And this is very important because Indigenous peoples have endured and experienced negative impacts of the previous process called the REP Plus, for example. And what we want is to make sure that the rules that are built into this market mechanism, that it ensures the rights of Indigenous peoples, that it respects the right to participate of Indigenous peoples. And Helen talked about decision-making processes. Indigenous peoples should be, or have to be, able to participate in decision-making processes that affect them. That is enshrined in Article 18 of the Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, which derives from Article 3 of the Declaration, which is the right to self-determination. Another priority for Indigenous peoples was an independent grievance mechanism. So on the front end, there needs to be free, prior, and informed consent, but at the back end, there should always be a grievance process that is independent and that Indigenous peoples can use if they see that a project or that activity is not in line with the Declaration of Rights of Indigenous Peoples or human rights in general. And there's also the interest from Indigenous peoples in 6.8, the non-market mechanisms. Ideally, from Indigenous people's point of view, entire Article 6 would be non-market. However, we're dealing with a market mechanism, so it is up. In our view, it is important, even though we don't like it, that it is in line with our rights. So that is where we came from in Glasgow. We were able to secure the rights of Indigenous peoples in the text. We were not able to secure international arrangements or free, prior, and informed consent in activity design. And what we got was independent grievance process instead of independent grievance mechanism. And having talked to parties around the room, they don't even know what the independent grievance process or mechanism would be. So that's our starting point. And what we did as a caucus in Glasgow was very strong. We have intensified our presence at the table. Chief Oren Lyons of the Haudenosaunee said it best. If you're not at the table, you're on the menu, or you're serving the menu. in Glasgow, we ensured that we were at the table, and it's right now that you can see in SBFTA, leading up to COP and beyond COP, that we will remain at the table. We are reflected in the text, our rights are reflected in the text, and we will make sure that everything under this market mechanism will respect the rights of indigenous peoples. That's what we are doing here in SBFTA today. And it's also to lay the groundwork for COP. We've seen that, there's many discussions going on, mostly agenda setting. Not many decisions will be made, but it's very important for us that we start laying the groundwork, because the supervisory body will have great influence into how these guidelines, how these procedures, how these methods will be implemented. And it is for our utmost importance that we engage in bilaterally with these regional groups, because they get to recommend the members of the supervisory body. So it is up to us to engage with these regional groups. And this is also a call from our end that to the parties, to the groups, that we're at the table now. We're in the discussion. We're in the text. So make sure that you sit down with us. Because if we don't like it, what you're doing, then we will tell you. And we will tell you in no uncertain terms that what we don't like. So that is what we're working here on Article 6. Loss and damage, it's the same thing. There is a lot of discussion. However, like Helen already said, the elephant in the room is finance. The elephant in the room is compensation. For indigenous peoples, it is very important that in terms of loss and damage, that we also get access, that we also can be part of the loss and damage process. But it's also important that loss and damage, that it also addresses key issues that are very relevant to indigenous peoples. Non-economic loss and damage is very important. Maladaptation is very important. Participation is very important. And these are all issues from indigenous people's point of view that we feel that there's not enough consideration from parties when it comes to these negotiations. So on top of finance, of course, is very important. However, these principles need to be considered. Sorry, not just considered. Need to be ensured. Need to be respected. And that is why what we're doing here in Bonn as well, to reach out to the parties. And most meetings actually don't even allow observers. So it is also very strange that these meetings that should be open, that should allow for participation, that's most meetings that are key to indigenous peoples, that it won't allow observers. But that won't stop us. Won't stop us at all. We will continue bilaterally. We will do what we do best. We have 7 regions at our disposal. We are very much determined, and we are very much looking forward. It sounds crazy, but we are looking forward to these engagements with parties. And we're looking forward to engagement with parties and other constituencies, not just here in Bonn, but also leading up to COP and at COP as well. So that's what I would like to share in terms of our work right now here in Bonn in terms of Article 6 and loss and damage. Thank you.
Thank you very much, brother, for really highlighting what we are here for, and then also the challenges, because the challenge, like you mentioned, that we are not in the decision-making table where climate change are already impacting the peoples in the ground, and then the policies and the response measures that will be devised, or the implication that will have in the community, if they are not on the table, they will be further marginalized, or there are potentially more cases where they will be further affected. And I think I really like the note with that energy that we will continue to fight for the space that we rightfully deserve. Thank you very much again.